the golf course. Cake party till the cops came, and we ran for it barefoot, never had a chance. We could never understand the price of being fast and young, the price of being black in suburbia. Daddy ain't working and you just trying to measure up to the rich kids with their Jans Boy backpacks with their name on it. Tell them even mama bag. They've been plotting on me, so I'm waiting. And so I'm waiting.
Okay, the title of today's episode is The Price of Being Black in Suburbia, where we were talking about the hypersexualization of young black girls in America and why it's so prevalent. Why is the hypersexualization of young black girls in America so prevalent? The topic came to mind to me about a week short of a year ago today when I stumbled upon an online discourse surrounding North Kardashian's West, and it was about her princess costume she had last year. So basically, she was just wearing a basic, I think she was Princess Tiana's dress, which is like, has a little bit of a bustier in it, and people online were just aggressively like body shaming her, talking about how she wanted to be grown, how she wanted to be adult, all because she got on this princess dress like all the other little girls. And it kind of made me think, why when a little black girl wears something, it's sexual, it's provocative, but when any other of her counterpart wears it, it's not? So that's just basically the topic. My name is Damara Hardy, and I'm here with a panel of different people. We can start going this way, I guess, and just say your name.
I'm Sammy.
And how you feel about the topic.
I'm Raven. I'm Madison. I'm Davia.
I feel like the topic is really actually a big deal that people don't understand because, especially as black people, I feel like we, as kids, we just want to express ourselves in different ways, but we're told that we're not the proper age to do so, and that if we do so, that it makes us fast, it makes us grown, it makes us not a kid anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like the way black bodies are like looked at is to the extent of like sex and what they can do for people, and not just being a human being that wants to do something, that wants to breathe, that just wants to live their life, if that makes sense.
I just want to piggyback on the self-expression point that Sammy talked about. I feel like as a little girl, you just want to express yourself and have your own style. But with like being black and having like a body type that people see as, I guess, sexual, even though it's not, people see it that way, like curvier bodies. Mm-hmm. You're not like allowed to wear what you want to wear. Like you can't wear skirts, which is like a normal thing a little girl should wear, but like it's looked down upon by even black people themselves, like the older generations of women tell you not to wear that. If there's like men in your house, you got to change your clothes, and I feel like that's not okay.
I agree.
When children have like the color red nail polish, or if they wear red lip gloss or red lipstick, that is seen as fast or is seen as too grown. I feel like a color shouldn't define somebody, or it shouldn't put somebody's worth in something. I feel like everybody should be able to do what they want, wear what they want, and not be judged because of it.
And like the topic grown and fast is definitely something we're going to come back to later after we have a whole like chunk of the segment that's going to piggyback off of that, because those are two words that are often used to describe young black youth when they're doing something, versus when you see somebody who like Kylie Jenner when she was 16 and doing what she's doing, or like even Alabama Barker when she's 18 doing what she's doing. It's more like, oh, she's living the wrong life, she's just trying to be cool, she's trying to do these things, versus when it's a young black girl, she's fast, she want to be adult, and all these other things. But before we dive really deep into the sexualization of black girls, we want to talk about sexualization as a whole. And in the podcast Therapy for Black Girls, in the episode entitled Women, Agency, and Pleasure, host Joy Pardon Bradford says, I scrolled away from it. She kind of talks about, she brings up the topic of WAP in the song. This podcast came out in 2020, so that's why the WAP is the song. Comes out, talks about WAP and how it's a form of sexual expression, and how oh my god, I lost it. Basically, how sexual expression sometimes in those extents can negatively reflect on how black women are perceived as sexual beings. And that shouldn't be the case, because black women, like other women, should be able to express themselves sexually without it having a trickle effect on our youth and how we are perceived as a whole. And she ties in the idea into like young black women by saying, right, so this idea that black women are inherently sexual and they get over-sexualized, and it's true. There's an adultification of young black girls and there's an adultification of young black males as well. You have their sexuality from puberty. They want sex, right? Miss Sommer, and a misnomer and other things is put onto black bodies. Undoubtedly, this conversation and WAP are two different conversations. And even though these are two different conversations, I feel like it all ties together because the more you look online, the more you see these sexual notions and sexual things, and the more, like I said, it's affecting young girls like North Kardashian and other young black girls on the media. So I feel like I just want to ask you guys, how does stuff like Sexy Red and her constant parade of stuff like that and other forms of black women sexualizing themselves, how do you think that impacts the black community, and how do you think that kind of trickles down into like the way young black girls are sexualized? I don't know if I worded that right, if that's like a loaded question.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So I definitely think that artists that make that kind of music affect our youth a lot because people end up idolizing them. And while idolization within itself is bad, I think people forget that they are children and that they take it as, oh, you're idolizing this, so obviously you want to relate to this. But instead of teaching them, hey, that's maybe something that is more for adults and not you yet, is in a way of like not talking about colors or hairstyles, but more so on how you express yourself sexually. It may not be the right appropriate time right now. And I say that specifically referring to way younger kids, so not teenagers, because teenagers are going through literally just a transformation of teenagehood and adulthood. So I feel like that is a little bit more of a complex situation. But I even remember being younger, being 10 years old, and singing songs that were inappropriate and liking the music videos and stuff like that. But I simply liked it because it was representation. More or less because of what it actually represented within the song. And I feel like it affects kids in a way of kind of a thing that's not their fault. Like, I feel like they idolize it and they like this and they listen to it because that's what is popular with the black community. That is what's playing with the black community. I feel like I do feel like it can easily be fixed, though, not with having the artist change their music or stop expressing their sexuality, but a simple talk with your parents. A simple, yeah, they do that because they're older and they can, or like, yeah, I see why you like it, or just validation and understanding them instead of shaming them for it when they literally don't know.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Sammy. I also feel like that some kids aren't taught about sex soon enough in the correct way. So when kids start presenting in ways that seem sexual, they don't understand what they're doing until they get shamed for it. So I feel like education could help that problem too, because like it's just about communication and like clear standards of what a 10-year-old should do versus what a 15-year-old can do. And Sexy Red. But I feel like it depends on the way the artists present their art to people. Like, Sexy Red should not be going to no high school talking about shaking ass on top of cars. That's not what they should be doing. They should be trying to get the SAT score.
Yeah, I feel like just separating the more sexual songs and media from little kids would be beneficial because artists should be able to express themselves in the way they want to. And I feel like black artists actually get more hate for that than white artists do. Because, like, Sabrina Carpenter literally sings the same stuff that Sexy Red does, but Sexy Red is seen as a whore, a thought, a hoe. But Sabrina Carpenter is like, she's popular, she's in,
That's mother.
She's so, yeah.
Yeah, they low-key think she a feminist, and she just saying,
she's
like,
feminism,
she wanna get
like,
fucked.
yeah, it's like the same thing. It's just like two different genres of music. So I feel like, I just went off on a tangent, but I feel like, yeah, just separating the types of music that your kids listen to from like the sexual type of music would be more beneficial instead of I guess shaming the artist and yeah.
To piggyback on what everybody else said, I also agree that children should be taught this stuff at an earlier age, so when they get older, they know how to like express themselves, or they know what to do, what's right from wrong. But also, I feel like like the artists also do say that their music is not for children; it is for adult ears. So when people the parents let their children hear stuff they're not supposed to hear, it's low key like I think setting them off or like throwing them for a loop, because it's I guess introduces something that is new to them, and they don't know where to go from there.
And yeah, I feel like definitely when it comes to being a black woman and expressing sexuality, it is met with a different level of shame. And that's why I feel like a lot of people, especially in our age bracket, aren't really being taught proper sex etiquette and proper sex things. Because any part of being sexual, even if it's something as simple as having a crush or having even like private areas, is deemed sexual. Like when I was younger, my mom told me to call my private part a treasure box, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Like not with that, but I mean in general. And so I feel like when it comes to being black, with this mix of sexuality and puberty and adolescence, there's this shame. And I feel like this is also very prevalent in the clothing choice. We talked about clothes a little bit here, and I feel like we all have had probably our own different experiences when it comes to clothes. In my personal experience, my dad used to buy me boys' clothes. So I would have on size 12 husky jeans. Those are the pants made for the really big boys. Those are made for the boys who like 200 pounds. And I was probably a size 8 in girls at the time, and he had me in 12 boys' pants. I would have to triple tie them for no other reason than the fact that he was deeming himself protecting me and protecting my curves and all these other things. And I hadn't even really started to touch puberty yet at that point. And I feel like as puberty happened, it seemed to get even just a little bit worse. And I feel like now he's at the point he's like, okay, I can't do anything about it, whatever. But I feel like black girls' bodies are very much policed. Little girls' bodies in general are extreme policed. You see it on TV, you see it in the media. And now we're entering a phase where it's a little more lax, but I feel like coming from black women and black youth, it's especially policed. Has there ever been a specific time for you guys growing up where you felt like your bodies were policed, or just simple like, hey, you shouldn't wear that because of X, Y, and Z?
Well, I will start off by saying, in a way, no. I feel like one of the reasons is because I am like slimmer, so like growing up there was no curves, but also that my mom was relatively supportive of the choices me and my sister made when it came to dressing up and just wearing stuff, especially as we got older. I feel like my mom realized that trying to say, hey, like maybe you shouldn't wear that because your stomach's out, or maybe you got a back roll, or I feel like my mom was doing her best as someone that's like trying to be more progressive and understanding to not make us ashamed of our own bodies. So I was grateful enough to have a mother that made sure, she was like, if like you should like your body, like it's good, even if you were bigger it would have still been good, like it's fine no matter how you look. And yeah, but I have say outside of that, I've never really experienced it because of like my size and weight and whatnot, but I've seen it happen to a lot of my friends, and I always thought it was very weird. For example, in middle school, there was dress codes and you could not wear leggings, but I wore leggings and I never got in trouble for it at all. But I saw multiple people who were curvier, and mind you, we're like in 7th grade, so this is not even curvy, that's just their body, and they were policed and told like, oh, they need to go home, they're gonna call their parents. And me and my friends always thought it was a little strange because they always make the excuse that, like, you're going to distract boys. But I don't think it was distracting boys. I think it was the adults.
Yeah. Very much so. I feel like my biggest experience was just, like, my grandma, because she basically raised me and my sisters and my little cousin. And I feel like she taught us that our body wasn't safe in the world, and so we had to wear what she felt like was safe. Like, since I had like a big chest but like everything else was like soft and curvy, I had to wear like baggy shirts, and like leggings didn't matter but shorts did. And I feel like that made me not want to see my body as much, because like I was always felt like my body was just like something that had to be hidden. But like now that I'm 20, like cleavage is fine. Having your stomach out is fine. Having your thighs out is fine. Like, we're humans, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't have to matter. Especially as a kid, because, like, how can you sexualize something when we can't even understand what our hormones are doing yet? Like, I feel like that's unfair to kids, too, because, like, you put so many things that they don't understand onto them, but then they have to grow up and internalize things a different way because of the trauma, shame, and you shouldn't dress like that can cause.
Yeah, so like I grew up on the skinnier side, So I didn't really experience like the issue with like dressing and you have curves. But for me, it was my stomach. Like I couldn't have my stomach out. Like my stomach was a distraction, which I don't understand why, but that's just how I grew up. And my biggest like memory of having to like change clothes was always around the men specifically. Like if there was a man coming to fix something in the house and I was wearing a gown, like a unicorn princess gown, I would have to go change, put on pants, put on something baggier, and I was a child. So I feel like what I experienced was tailored towards men, not my body type.
For me, something was also similar. Like in high school, I couldn't wear tights because my grandma thought that I would be.
Hold on, I'm so sorry.
Something similar also happened to me. Like in high school, I was told that I couldn't wear tights to school because my grandma felt as though people with men on the bus, because I took the bus to school, would try to get at me, and that would be very dangerous to me. And also, my grandma taught me and my siblings that going outside in pajamas, gowns, anything like that was forbidden. We couldn't do that. It was, I guess, seen as bummy, but like, be comfortable. Let's be comfortable, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, hold on. I want to say, you guys don't have to go in order. You don't have to answer every question, too, if he doesn't. Like, I like that you answered, even though it didn't directly apply to you, because I kind of did want to, I kind of mentioned, I know we had the conversation before, and I like that you can see different perspectives from different people. But I was also saying, y'all don't have to go in order. Y'all can talk whatever you want to talk. It's supposed to be, like, more conversational, if that makes sense. Like, like you know.
Order just make it look
Yeah.
easier, so I know when to talk.
My bad. Okay, yeah. So, like, kind of talking about, like, the topic of clothing and other things, I do want to mention that this is a statistic that I just have to fact check, but young black women are, like, 10 times more likely to be sexualized and called out for, like, dress code and other things than their white counterparts. This is even prevalent in schools where there aren't just black people. This is prevalent in schools where there's more of a mix of black and Latino and other mixtures of people, and the black girls are 10 times more likely to be dress coded. And this is kind of an effect of something my mom always used to say something. It's a problem when I do it, but it's cool when they do it. And I think a big example, this kind of ties into what you said earlier, where you're talking about, like, the singing of music. There was videos of these little black girls, they're, like, singing a sexy red song, but they're, like, babies. They're like 4 or 5 years old. They don't know the lyrics. They just think it's catchy. They're singing it. All the comments in the video is like, oh my God, where are their parents? Why are they doing this? Saw the exact same video of like a group of little white girls. Same sexy red song. I think the same age range. And people are like, oh, this is so fun. Like, I know they're going to be so lit when they're older. They're going to be in a club, da, da, da. And I feel like that really ties into the adultification of little black girls. Back to my example with Northwest. The North's friends, there was another black girl with her, but she was wearing a different outfit. But North's friend, she had a friend who had on a Cinderella dress who was white. And Cinderella and Tiana's dresses are pretty much the same thing. Same bustier type situation. But North just happened to be a little more developed than the girl, but at the same time, she's still 12. And I feel like that also goes into that topic of the fact that little black girls' bodies are so policed and so adultified that they can't even just express themselves without it being seen as something vulgar. Even if it is with a song that they know nothing about. So, I don't know if anybody has anything to say about that.
I low-key seen something about that on TikTok, and I seen the outfit. I think it was very pretty, so I know she had like her little the little platform heels or like the little boots to go with her corset and her little skirt. And I just thought that a lot of people have opinions on what kids should and shouldn't wear, and I think that's very bad because everybody deserves a chance to express themselves. She wanted to express herself as Princess Tiana, wearing a corset, a skirt, some heels. It's cute. And I just think that everybody should like have the chance to dress how they want to dress. I'm pretty sure she made the outfit up by herself. She thought it was cute. She had fun with it. Like it was for like an event. It wasn't for her to be judged by the public.
Right, I agree. But I feel like as like Kim Kardashian, her mother, Kim Kardashian, to me, I feel like is like, most people remember her for sex tapes or like the pornos that got leaked. So like having your child in like a space where everybody know what type of parent you are can affect, I feel like can affect the way they treat your child to a certain extent, because like, yeah, her daughter didn't do pornography because she's 12, but like her mother did. So like I feel like some people could push that onto the child even though that's unfair. So I feel like parents should be aware of like what they put into the world and what they put their kids into the world too, because people don't have to know about Northwest. She chose to put her daughter on social media, and now her daughter likes to be on social media. So I feel like that's another problem within parenting that promotes like their child to get like tore apart sooner. Like she didn't have to expose her to other people, but she chose to.
But I feel like if we're going to talk about Northwest, we got to talk about Alabama too, though, because they are part of the same family.
Yeah.
And she grown, right?
She
just turned 18.
She just turned 18, so she's like a couple of years.
She's like another version of Bad Baby.
She known,
a little bit. That's why they was beefing.
She's known for sleeping with men.
There was a video of her actually. There was a video of her actually, and she always has different guys coming in at her house, and it was some rapper, I forget his name, but she's sitting there. She has on like one of those like poster girl dresses, and she's sitting there. She got her legs open. She's talking to him, and he kind of lightly was like, "Hey, you shouldn't be sitting here with your legs open in front of all these dudes." And he said it very quietly. He's being very respectful, and she like ha 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 made it such a big thing, and I feel like, to kind of direct this more towards our conversation, if you think about it, if that was North or maybe Shaquille O'Neal daughter or any other like black presenting little girl, it would have been a whole different thing. People are still shitting on Alabama regardless, because they're like, why are you acting like that? Because you could be acting like this instead because of her status. But I feel like the hate she was getting would be 10 times worse if she was black. And that can also be seen like with the Cooking with Kaya girl. Yes, we know how she started off saying she's taking man, taking what, but she like got torn apart so crazy. And it's like, I feel like if she was a white woman, it would be a completely different vibe. It'd be like, oh my God, girl, yes, you cooking and you lit. Yes, we love this energy. But instead she got tore apart. And I feel like that tearing apart kind of comes from within our own community 90% of the time. I feel like, yes, the white people and the other counterparts are like, oh my God, like, why are they acting like that? Of course they're acting like that. Of course they act like that. But a lot of times the word grown, the word grown, the outrage that comes around black women existing, especially black girls.
Yeah, to go off of that though, I feel like we have to talk about intersectionality with this, because I feel like a white woman's experience and a black woman's experience are obviously not the same. But I also feel like because of the amount of attention women get when they do present themselves more sexually, and how that can literally what's the word that I'm looking for? No, it's the word when you make money. It can literally provide a girl's life, her entire lifestyle for her. And so I feel like, especially I feel like, and there's even this one girl, like she's a white lady, but like she had made a video about how like, only 25,000 men got her this house because of what she did, and people were shaming her. And I feel like, to tie this back into especially being black and young, is that I feel like the reason why that is just such a huge problem, the way people sexualize black girls, is because they try to make it their fault instead of just saying, hey, there's creeps. We need to handle the creeps, not the victim of the situation. And obviously I do feel like within the world that we live in, there's always precautions and there's understandable things that you have to do. Like, you would never pull up in a swimsuit to an office meeting. Like, I feel like there's obviously settings and how norms. You would, social norms. But I feel like seeing a 16-year-old and her Halloween costume is Jasmine. She got a crop top like Jasmine in the pants. I don't think that's inappropriate. And like literally today I seen a video of like dads reacting to their daughter's Halloween costumes, and I didn't find any of them inappropriate in the slightest. That is how social media presents women. And if you don't like that, how about you start actively helping to change that instead of literally feeding into it and paying into it? I feel like people don't want to look at the source of the problem. If you don't want your daughter to present herself outwardly so sexually, not even saying that that's a bad thing, because I don't necessarily think it is, but if you don't want that, you need to actively push for like pornography bans. But you don't want that because you use it. I feel like people, I always see that thing where it's like gay son or like hoe daughter or whatever. We're like, oh my god, I don't want my daughter to be a thought. But like, you literally like follow all the people you claim that are thoughts. You like their posts, you follow their OnlyFans, you look at the pornography. Like, I feel like the same people that's trying to shit on it is the same people that feed into it.
I got very true. To add on to Sammy's point, I seen this TikTok. Yeah, it was about a baby shaking her butt on TikTok, and she was not pampered. She's like, I think it was like 6 months old, something like that. The mother was shaking her butt on the camera, and I feel as though if you don't want your kids to be sexualized, you should not post them on the internet.
Yeah.
The internet is not for kids at all.
Yeah, barely for teens.
Yeah,
literally.
And to also add on, this isn't about kids, but it's about, like, I guess, black women. Like, in the intersexual couples, like, white women and black men are seen.
Interracial?
Yes, interracial, sorry. Black men and white women are seen as inferior to black women in a different race, which I think is very false. I feel like black women should be treated fairly even if they aren't dating black men, or even if they are dating black men, but it's always seen as black men putting other races over black women because them so-called being ghetto or being loud or whatever you want to call it. But I just feel as though, like, they have problems in their own household with their mother, who is black, or is a black female in their family, and they take it out on other people, which I think is not healthy. I think
It's like red pill content.
Yeah.
That's such a big part of it.
Yeah.
I also feel like misogyny is a huge part of all of these tiny systems that happen because of the big one, like gender, men versus women. Men can do this, women can do this. Men can't do this, women can't do this. I feel like those things play a part into how each gender has to perform and has to act because of the original system of the patriarchy, misogyny, and those type of things. Like, I feel like they affect the female gender more because I feel like some males want to control what women can and can't do. And, like, since females have been, since, like, the beginning of time, like, the secondary gender, and, like, even though we can give life to things, our rights aren't put as, like, primary things. They're like, oh, I guess you can get health care. Oh, I guess you can have, like, a safe pregnancy. Like, I feel like women aren't as prioritized as other things. Like, I feel like the Army could get more attention than, like, the health care for pregnancy.
Yeah. I also have a picture. So this is, I don't know, I'm gonna put it in the video somehow. This is Nerf's costume. This is one of the things she had. And then this is like the main one that I think people, are kind of upset about.
And it looked like it's from Dollar Tree.
And I'm gonna put a picture of it in the video somehow. We're gonna get it up there.
They acting like her boobs are right here.
Okay. Yeah, like, and you see, like, other girls kind of have
Wearing
the
the
same
same dress.
situation.
Yeah.
But, because of, like you said, who her mother is, which is, I kind of, when I started my original piece, I mentioned that. I said she already gets a bunch of critique based off simply who her mom is. And it's only amplified by the fact that she is mixed race. And, yeah, I'll put the video, I'll figure out that. But many of her, like, her friends have a similar thing. One of her friends is Belle, where it's the same corset situation. Her other friend is Cinderella, same dress situation. So I feel like that just really goes into the sexualization. And one of the main things you see in this video, we talked about in our chat, are the words grown and fast. Black girls are always being called grown and fast. So I made a little dictionary in my draft. I'm going to say the definition Urban Dictionary said for the word, then what my definition is, and then we can maybe talk about it a little bit there. So for the term fast, Urban Dictionary had a girl who acts older than she is with the men. For my definition, I put a girl or a boy, while it's mostly directed at girls, who hangs out with the opposite sex, and due to that and other seen behaviors is perceived as extremely promiscuous. So what would you guys' definition of fast be? How do you think? Yeah.
I feel like from personal experience, fast was trying to appear a certain age that you're not. So let's say, like, I'm 13, but I want to act like a 17-year-old, which maybe, like, actions of a 17-year-old could be, like, getting my nails done, like acrylics or, like, short acrylics, or, like, wearing lip gloss, carrying a purse. Those things in my household would seem as like, oh, you're moving too fast, you need to slow down.
I feel like it's a huge misconception because usually when, like, the first time I ever heard that word, it was not directed towards me but my older sister from someone outside of my family. And I feel like it was just a huge misconception of, like, oh, you're trying to be with a man, you're trying to get sexy, but instead it's, I literally see every famous women, all the successful, especially successful black women, I see they got lace fronts, I see they hair straight, I see they got their nails done, I see they wearing makeup. You can't expect people to not adapt to what they see, and not even adapt. You can't expect people to ignore it and be like, well, actually, I'm gonna go bareface, hair not done, no nails, no nothing. Like, that's not how black women present themselves in society in the first place. And so I feel like people need to hone in what is actually being a child and what is being grown, because I don't associate grown with the way people necessarily express themselves in a way. I would say it obviously can vary. I mean, no 6-year-old, you want no 6-year-old to got no like Cardi B long ass nails or whatever. Like, that makes sense. Right. But I've seen like a kid was going to like, I think maybe second or third grade, and they had like the little cutest, shortest acrylics ever. People were like, whoa, what the heck? And I'm like, what's wrong with that? She literally has her nails done. This literally means nothing except she likes Hello Kitty. Like, that's all that I got from that. But instead, people are like, oh, she wants to be older so bad. We shouldn't associate taking care of yourself and looking pretty for black people as growing up. I feel like those are the ways that black women express themselves. And I don't think it's sexual at all that we see black women getting long blue hair. Like, as a kid, for me, I loved having color in my hair. I absolutely did. You know what it reminded me of? My Little Pony. Like, that's I was like, oh my God, look at Rainbow Dash. Like, I want to look like that.
Right.
So, yeah.
I also feel like the nails thing could be like debatable, because like sitting down getting your nails done can be like harmful to your lungs. So like as a child, that might not be like the best way to do it. But like press-ons and stuff should be fine.
I feel like same, like the word fast was never applied to me, but more so people I grew up with, like my cousins and stuff. I remember my cousin, like, she was like 12, and she like had like a bunch of guy friends because she lived in the neighborhood, and she was always like running down the street, hanging out with her friends and stuff like that. And my dad was like, oh, your cousin just out there being fast tail. She needs to slow down. I was like, whoa. The other word I have is grown, obviously. And for Urban Dictionary, they had acting mature but not being mature, imitating what older people do, being of legal age while acting reckless. My definition was not following the unspoken rules of being a black adolescent or doing behaviors that are considered only for adults.
I got something for that. So basically, in my household, we were told to like not talk back. Like after an adult says something, you cannot speak back. You cannot talk back. You cannot put your opinion into it. You can't say what happened or what didn't happen. You just have to let it ride off. And I think that's very false. I think that's how you keep your emotions bottled up, and that's what makes you explode. I personally had this experience with my grandma. She used to like tell us stuff, and then when I tried to tell her something back, she would yell at me, or she said, "You can't talk like that and like that." I was like, "How am I supposed to tell you what happened, or from my perspective, what happened, if you're not letting me talk?" It's basically she just took stuff, like what she thought happened, and she ran with it, and I think that's what hurts like the black community right now.
I feel like my mom would always tell me I'm not grown for the littlest things. Like, I wanted to wear eyeliner at like 16. I was 16. I feel like that's beyond the age that you could start wearing makeup. Like,
a lot of people do in middle school. Like,
yeah. And it was just eyeliner. It's just like, oh, you want to be grown so bad. You're not grown. You want those boys looking at you in school. You need to focus on school. And I just wanted to have wings on my eyes. Like, it's not. I feel like people just use it as a way to, I don't know, make girls feel bad about their own self-expression, or just the way they want to act. Like, not even like in a grown way. If they want to do something, like, even if there's like, excuse me, if there's like a boy involved in anything normal, and like you tell your parent like there's a boy involved, boom, you're trying to be grown, you're trying to be all up in boys' faces. So I feel like that's also like,
don't get distracted.
Yeah, it's also applied to males too. Like, not applied to males, but like the saying of grown, they use it like when you're trying to do something that has like a male involved in it, even if it's not like, you know, sexual. Like, even if it's like something as normal as going to the park. Like,
yeah, going with the opposite gender, and you was trying to do something in like a black household 9 times out of 10. So it was just like you either lied about it or you just didn't go.
Yeah, I feel like it's rooted in fear because America is so, like, the idea of relationships and just sex, especially sex, is so taboo here. But in plenty of other countries, like the Netherlands, oh my God, like the Netherlands, it's not at all, and it's very common for them to be educated on sex, educated on sex, and for condoms and contraceptives to be available. But I feel like with the Black community specifically, it is extremely taboo, and it's like, I feel like a part of it is fear because they see this as a stepping stone to you getting older, and they immediately get angry at you for literally just growing up. And I understand the fear in the sense of like, she's not my little baby anymore, he's not my little son anymore, or like, oh, I'm scared for them to go out in the real world. But I feel like if you can't handle the fact that your kid's gonna get older, that you shouldn't have kids, and that it's not fair to a child to make them feel like that they're trying to be grown just because the opposite sex is involved. And I feel like that is just such a bad narrative that people put onto kids, and that's exactly why things end up happening that we don't ever speak about because of situations like this. And also, to go off of that, it's funny because when bad situations do happen in the Black community, they just like to sweep it under the rug as if it never happened in the first place. And I feel like by doing what they're doing, by making it seem like it's the child's fault, that they are protecting predators. Like, that's literally what it gives, is that you are protecting the villain in this situation. And I understand if you're not trying to make me be seen by the villain, but just because somebody is a guy does not mean I want to sleep with them. We both like art. We just like drawing. It's this one show that we really like. He's actually just my best friend, and we're like siblings. And I feel like because they're not confident in having an opposite, like, friend of the opposite sex, that they assume that you can't. And so, it's really pushing their own narratives, like you said, onto a child. And that's not fair because, like, girl, that ain't me. I'm not you.
I know when I was younger, even like middle school, like I was like, if I would just be at school, like talking and involve the story of like a guy was in it, I'd be like, oh yeah, and then my friend, they were like this and they did this,
That's like
and
changing
like,
everybody's gender.
she did this, and the whole time it's just like a conversation about how in gym class, like, we threw a ball around and it hit me in the head or something. So I have a quote from my original statement, my original piece, that was titled "Why Am I Sexual? The Sexualization of Black Girls in America." And it kind of talks about being grown. So the complex concept of being grown tends to come with some unspoken rules that most young Black girls follow. So what do I think these rules are? 1, never wear anything red. Red means sex and seductiveness and is only for adult women. 2, the hair cannot be fully straight. The ends must be bumped. Straight or colored hair is adult-like and attracts men. 3, no expressive looks on your face, as that could be deemed as sass. Little girls have to be obedient. Talking back and making faces mean you're attempting to be grown. And I feel like that kind of talks about a little bit of what we've talked about before, just how colors and straight hair and every little thing for a little Black girl is adult-like. Seeing your counterparts have the extensions of color in their hair was so exciting. You would go home like, oh, I want to do that, and then quickly be shut down with the fact that you cannot do that because some reason being a Black woman is like a win or lose situation. If I want to get colored hair and have beads at 6, I can't do that. It's adult. But if I try to do that at 20, now I want to be a little kid, and it's a winning and losing situation. Oh. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
funny.
like that's the complexity. Like,
it was funny, yeah.
You like if I want to wear beads, I'm getting told I want to be a little kid, but when I want to wear beads and
Because I
have
miss my little bubos.
pink hair when I was little, I wanted to be an adult.
Like,
Yes. I also have another little quote about being grown. So it's like da 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 da. However, it is not that simple. Being grown isn't always when you turn 25 and start paying taxes. No. It's the day you decide you want to wear red or leave the end of your hair straight after your silk press. Being grown is standing up for yourself after years and years of emotional torment. Grown, the adjective, is using an insult. It marks the day when a young Black girl is no longer remembering her place as a child and is tiptoeing into adult territory. So that's just kind of how I ended my essay, talking about being grown and the sexualization and where this term really stems from in the inner Black community. Do you guys think if this topic was brought to like a white woman, if you walked up to a little white girl, like, oh, you being grown, do you think that would be like a, what are you talking about situation?
yes, I feel like they would just be like, huh? What do you mean? I'm 6. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't think I don't think they even ever heard that phrase unless that person just happened to be raised around Black people. But I don't think.
I feel like everybody is raised differently, race-wise. race wise because of slavery, racism, Jim Crow, and all of that history from back in the day. I feel like people love to say that like this doesn't involve race, but like mostly everything we do does, or is at least the roots and the foundation. And that's why when we have modern topics like this, people don't understand it because blacks couldn't share our true experience with white people because white people wanted to chain us and make us do labor. And like to a certain extent, society is still that way. A black person can't go into a predominantly white area and be safe. They have to worry about if it's a sundown town where like when it get dark, do you need to scram or they gonna beat you until you black and blue for real? Like it's just situations like that where it's like we can't share our culture safely or without it being like appropriated the wrong way because of
Just straight up stolen.
history. Yeah.
I remember them, what they call those, like them white edges. That
The
they
sticky base?
Yes. I was like,
Yes.
what are you talking about?
Well, guys, this has been a very informal conversation. I just want to say thanks again to Sammy, Raven, Madison, and Demia for being a part of the conversation. And this has been The Price of Being Black in Suburbia, episode 1 of this podcast. Bye.